Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Mill. I'm your host, Rachel Ballatori, the founder and CEO of Mill & Co. We're so excited to have you back with us today. We've got a really wonderful and insightful guest with us today, Alex Bynum. Her pronouns are she, her, and hers. Alex, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Rachel. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's get to know a little bit about Alex. She is a spiritual guide, healer, teacher, Kabbalist, and initiated Celtic shaman, trained and certified through the Modern Mystery School. With over 12 years of experience, Alex has helped thousands of people heal, get out of their own way, and discover who they truly are. Passionate about making the world a better place, Alex knows the best way to change the world is to begin with the self. Alex currently owns and operates Empowering Path, located in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. She's received much recognition for her work, including being named one of the top 10 to watch on the Seacoast in 2023, the Out of the Box recipient with the Portsmouth Chamber of Commerce in 2025, and has been named one of the top 20 spiritual guides in the world since 2018. That is a heck of an accomplishment, Alex.
Thank you so much. It
Isn't
was,
it fun to
it's,
hear your
it's
bio read back to you? It's my favorite part of these interviews we do with folks.
I think it's the host favorite part and the guest least favorite part.
Yeah, that checks out. I truly love learning about people, and I also love many times we write our own bios for ourselves. And so I love the things that you decide to distill down all of your experience into, because I know that you've done more than this and you've had such an interesting journey. So I want to kind of talk through that with you today. So let's rewind a little bit back to the moment that you realized there was a gap. There's something missing that your eventual company, Empowering Path, could fill. What was that moment for you?
Sure. So I usually tell people, I was one of those people that came out of the womb just wanting to help humanity and wanting to serve. I've always kind of had that heart of service.
Mm.
And so, because of that, I was helping people from a young age. I became a social worker, an EMT, a personal trainer. I was doing refugee resettlement. So, I was doing all these professions to help other people. And the more that I kept helping people, I kept feeling, like I'm close, but I haven't quite found like what that missing piece is.
Mm.
And for me, spirituality wasn't even something on my radar. I'm from Tennessee, and that's not really a thing down there. Religion is a thing in Tennessee, but spirituality less
Mm.
so. Or at the time when I was growing up, less so. And yeah, so I didn't even know it was a missing piece for myself until I found it.
Wow. And so what was that moment of I'm going to start this business and I'm going to do this professionally? What was that like for you?
Yeah, the moment that I just knew was when I received an energy healing. And, I love skeptical clients because I was the skeptical client. And I was just like, whatever, I'll try this thing. But I wasn't invested or thought it would work or anything like that. And I received an energy healing. It was called a life activation.
Mm.
And I had no idea what the guy was doing, but I knew that it was something good and I could just feel it. And I was like, receiving this relief I'd been looking for a long time through therapy or workshops or different things like that. And that sparked something inside of me. And I just wanted to keep moving forward with it.
That's really incredible. And so you talk about being a skeptic. How do you describe the value of energy healing in a modern world to someone who is curious and wants to dip their toes in, but is a little skeptical about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I typically don't battle people's minds. It's not a game that I want to play.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, I don't like that game at all. So usually, as a guide, I try to just talk to people's soul. When I say that, what I mean is just kind of like have people sink into, what's actually going on for them versus what their mind is saying.
Mm.
So I do get the skeptics that come in and they just want an experience, and that's always fun for me. Because one of the beautiful things about this work is that whether you believe it or not, it still works on you. And I love that because it's not a mind game, it's a soul game. And so from the soul is I try to engage the skeptic on a soul level. And from that point, if they say yes to the healing work, that's great. And if they don't, that's okay too. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody has their own path.
And I can imagine clients of yours that come from very corporate backgrounds who are using their minds a lot, probably overusing them. I'm talking to myself here. Come in and it's this like mind, body, soul battle because I know personally I have a hard time shutting off my mind and it usually kicks on around 2 a.m. and doesn't shut off until 5 a.m. of like,
Oh
oh,
my
I
gosh.
forgot to do it. Right. I know it's terrible. Um, and so I think that's such an interesting shift for people to be like, it's not a matter of what you think about it necessarily, particularly if you're skeptical. It's how you feel after you've received it.
Right. It's really just taking the elevator down from mind to back to
Mm.
the heart space. But it takes a minute to get to that space. But as soon as people get to that space, the truth, that sigh of relief comes, or that like, oh yeah, there I am, feeling can come with that.
And you talk a lot about the difference between, you talked a little bit about the difference between religion versus spirituality. Sometimes, depending on your upbringing, spirituality can feel inaccessible, intimidating, foreign to newcomers. So, when you have someone who's starting out who isn't necessarily a skeptic, they're interested, but they've never really done much in the way of spirituality before, where do you start with them?
Actually, that's my favorite type of client because there's usually no expectation.
Mm,
Versus someone who's been around the block, they have a lot tend to have a lot of expectations.
yeah.
Um, you, when I start with a new client, it's really just, especially if they've never done energy work, it's just, it's the best case scenario
Mm.
because I always, just make them feel welcome, invite them into this space and, um, give them an outlet to start to really know themselves and to be themselves.
Yeah, that's great. What's a misunderstood aspect of energy healing as a professional practice that some people
Yeah, this
have?
is a great question. That it's all light and love all the time.
Yeah.
So if you if you actually want to do a true healing process, which differentiates myself from other healers out there, it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be, um, you're not always going to feel the best after a session because if you're doing a clearing or you're moving through a layer of something very deep, it can be painful, it can be difficult to break through. And so for the people that just want to feel good, it can be challenging because that's not what I do. I do true healing for someone who really wants to heal. And so there is a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of healers out there that just kind of live in this space of all love and light all the time.
Mm.
And while I prefer I prefer that space. I think everyone prefers to be happy. It's not always the reality with energy work.
Yeah. And would you say that's one of the biggest differentiators between you and other practitioners in the wellness field?
I think so. I mean, I also work from an ancient lineage, and so these modalities predate religion. They're kind of like the OG of the spiritual world. So I think I'm differentiated in terms of my training. Like I've trained in many different modalities that have been handed down for a very long time.
Mm.
So I feel like that's the X factor.
Yeah. And how did you decide? We have a lot of folks that are either entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people that are working in jobs and wish they were doing their own thing. How did you decide how to segment out the offerings of healing that you give to your clients? Like, is this early on in the business? Has that evolved over time as you've continued to grow and adapt?
Yeah, I mean, I train with the Modern Mystery School, so there's a path of progression within that school. So I was walking the path and doing different trainings at different times, which opened up my business more and more to be able to provide different modalities. And now I provide a lot of modalities. I've been doing this for 12 years. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess that's how I got to this point.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. It's certified, it's trained, there's a process that's being followed, and then your approach can certainly become your own. And I'm really curious your take as someone who is a huge advocate of therapy. I've been in therapy for several years myself, and that's just a different type of healing that I'm going through. Why do you feel that people are looking for light and love and are avoidant of maybe some of the more painful but ultimately beneficial types of healing modalities?
It's a great question. I mean, honestly, some people are afraid to face themselves. Some people are afraid of change, and that's okay. It's just like I feel like there's windows in people's life when they're ready to look at themselves and when they're not. And I may meet someone when they're in that window, or I may not, and then it's not a good fit. Therapy probably works this. I'm not a therapist, but therapy probably works the same way where, you know, there's a certain client that's open and then there's a certain client that's only this much open, and you can only work within the bounds of how much a person is willing to open themselves up to the process, right?
Right. And when someone works with you, do you find that you have regulars? For example, I go to therapy every week. Do you have people that come into you weekly? Is it more situational? Is it proactive, reactive? And is there a specific client that you're hoping to interact with more?
I'd say it's like all over the board, actually. I see clients sometimes and they just want, one, I call it activation. They just want like one activation. Some clients I see this type of work that I do, I can't do it every week. I can't do it all the time. It's like there needs to be an integration process.
Mm.
So my regulars, I see maybe like, it really depends. It's definitely situational. In the beginning, it's usually more, right? Because the person is moving through more, and then over time, it becomes less and less. But yeah, each person is really unique. And that's also part of the process, is determining which modalities are the best for a person at any given time.
Yeah. Many people, entrepreneurs, particularly women, struggle with imposter syndrome. It seems like you've been really sure of this for a long time. Did you ever face those doubts yourself? And if so, how did you work to overcome them?
Of course. Of course, I've had imposter syndrome, but I also, um, my why was bigger than my syndrome, if that makes sense.
It
So,
definitely does.
wanting to help humanity was bigger than how I felt about myself, or it was bigger than, um, wanting to make the world a better place was bigger than my ego. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely felt like an imposter. Sometimes I still feel like an imposter, which is funny. But I don't know if that ever really goes away. Um, but I'm definitely healed through layers of it, where most of the time, most of the time, I'm no longer feeling like an imposter, right? I feel like I belong there and I want to be there to serve. But in the beginning, like that first consultation I ever did, that was painful.
Oh, we all have our first. We have our first
You're
client.
like, oh
Yeah.
man.
Please
Yeah.
believe in me. I remember it intimately. Yeah, I'm with you. I've gone through layers of recovery through imposter syndrome, but what's been fascinating for me is that the more success we've found, and that's not just monetary, it's, client satisfaction, it's having employees that feel really fulfilled. The more milestones that we cross over that threshold into success, I start to feel that start to creep in. It's like this different wave of it, a new layer that enters the chat that was not there before. And so I think what's really interesting for people to listen here is that it's not something you can necessarily fix. And maybe, and if you are, call me. I'd love to know your secret sauce. But it's really to me, a normal step in growth and entrepreneurship, because you're going to continue to achieve and thrive and change. And that feeling will do the same.
Right. And every time it's kind of like a video game or something. Every time you unlock a new level, there's like an adjustment period to that new level as
Right.
well.
And
Right.
that's okay to take. And, for you, as someone who's guiding people through inner deep work for themselves, how are you caring for yourself and how are you staying centered as a leader?
Yeah. So as part of the lineage, as part of the holy work I facilitate, I've been handed down rituals to do that protect my energy. I don't take my clients' stuff home. I can banish negativity at any time. And so that was profound for me, actually, because like I said, I was a social worker and I burned out so quickly doing that. When I was an EMT, I left for PTSD. When I was, like all these things, there was like I didn't have boundaries, energetic boundaries. I didn't know how to take care of myself, and now I've worked with many, many people, and, um, I'm okay. I'm not taking it home. I'm able to, to function and to have joy in my life. So I'd say the rituals have been the biggest help for me.
That's great. Well, and I think that there's been such a shift for folks, particularly since the global pandemic when we were working from home, where home became work, work became home. It was really hard to delineate the difference between those two spaces. So when you're saying to people, "Well, just leave it at work," it's like, "Well, I'm in my house right now. This is my house." And so I remember setting physical boundaries of I have to have a room with a door to work from home in. And so when I shut that door, I am shutting the things and I'm leaving them in there. And I'm going to do my best not to stare at my phone and see all the emails piling in after 5 p.m. because I'm adamant about my boundaries.
I
So
see. Yeah.
that's definitely, I think, changed the landscape for some people of setting their own boundaries and protecting their peace outside of work.
Yeah, I think, some people set boundaries and some people set walls. So I think, it's like being careful and like knowing what your boundary is and how much you can handle, right? Is really what a boundary is. This is as much as I can handle. And knowing that's going to be different for each person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just having self-awareness. Talking about your business, you've grown this, you've had all the accolades, the education, the training, the experience, successful experiences with clients. What decisions have you made along the way that have helped you scale your impact and continue to grow your company?
I'd say my best quality, which, it's my greatest strength and my greatest weakness, is I never give up. So um, that's how I scale is I just don't give up and I see the bigger picture. If I can help one client, it's kind of Will Smith talked about this one time and it always stuck with me where it was like you lay one brick at a time to build a house. And I'm like, if I can just help or the story of the is it the starfish on the sea? And have you heard that story where the little boy is like trying to throw starfish back in the sea to save them? But there's
No.
so many starfish. Oh, it's a popular story. It's like basically there's a bunch of starfish that have washed up on sea, and the little boy's trying to throw them back in. And yeah, it's I can't remember, but I think like his parent or he's like, "What's the point? I'll never be able to help all of them." And it's like, yeah, but you helped that one starfish, and then you helped
Mm,
that other starfish, right? So, similar idea in my practice where I've been able to scale because I just, helped that one person, and then helped another person, and then helped another person, and little by little, over 12 years, it's grown.
yeah. Well, a lot of folks struggle with this like pinnacle concept, and I've definitely fall victim to this where it's like once I achieve this, I'll have made it. And what's funny about that is I have hit those pinnacles annually, and then the next year the pinnacle is higher, right? And so then I have to reflect back to myself and say, well, when is it enough? And enough doesn't mean slack necessarily, but when can I acknowledge that I have accomplished the things I wanted to, and maybe sustainability is the next pinnacle to reach? That's something I've
Mhm.
really never considered for myself because it's always been more, better, grow, keep thriving, keep building. But I think it's an interesting concept to think of building as sustaining.
Yeah. And I think, hustle culture is so popular. But I don't know that it always works for people, right?
Yeah.
So
No. Not everybody. Well, and you have to have the self-awareness and probably good mentors around you to be like, knock, knock. Hi, you're burning out.
well, I think you have to know when to push and then when to pull back, right? Like it's a dance. There's the ebb and the flow. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they freak out in the ebb because they're like, I don't have enough clients. I'm not doing enough. And it's like, no, this is supposed to be a time of rest so that when the next flow comes in, you're ready. Or at least
Right.
that's been my experience.
Yeah. I've been focusing a lot on that. And there's kind of the ebb moments of what are the things that I can take advantage of in this moment of the things that have been, rainy day checklist things that I've been ignoring that I can get ahead on now because I have the time and the space and the capacity. When you're talking to other entrepreneurs, particularly women, who feel called to create a purpose-driven business, but they're not really sure where to begin, what advice would you give them?
I'd start with, healing yourself. It's funny. Most people, they put healing as the last thing to do or like a self-care item. But
Mm.
if you begin to like heal yourself, you'll start to heal what's not really you, which uncovers more and more of your purpose. And
Mm.
so, I mean, one way you can start, I tell clients all the time, is just follow your joy. Like if cotton candy brings you joy, like follow that path. If whatever it is that lights you up, just, I feel like most people don't get their purpose handed to them in their lap. Some people do,
Mm.
but a lot of times it's being willing to take steps towards finding it. Is what I feel like. Even for myself, right? It was like this helping profession, this helping profession, this helping profession, and then, then I landed into the healing work that would allow me to fulfill that purpose of wanting to help humanity. Yeah.
Right. Well, and being able to look back, my journey was pretty similar in the sense of I've always been strategic and creative. Any job that I've had, anything that I've done, college, extracurriculars, it was always being a leader, being strategic, and being creative. At the time, I don't think I knew that that meant someday, Rachel, you will start and run a successful, strategic, creative agency. I didn't know that at the time, but I did have this moment of clarity before I launched Mill & Co., where I reflected back on the work I've done. And I remember I've shared this story in this podcast. I was in West Village and I went to this little co-working space and had a big dry erase board and a royal blue marker. And I wanted to write down a business plan. And where I started was, what am I good at? What do people value about me? Because if they value characteristics about what I bring to the table, that value can be turned into monetary value.
Right.
And so that's where I started. But I didn't know that, as I moved through it. And so when I speak to entrepreneurs, it's just take time to rise above and reflect on the work you've done, and not in just a qualitative and quantitative perspective, but the impact you had on something and the impact it had on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that advice. That's good advice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully it continues to be good advice. Until I get an angry email from, I followed your advice on your podcast and it was not good.
Um,
Thinking long term for you as a spiritual guide, a female entrepreneur, what is the legacy you're hoping to leave behind you?
I think maybe this sounds a little arrogant, but I feel like, yeah, a part of me wants to say I've already left a legacy in a certain way. Because, like we were talking about, if you just help one person, that could be your legacy. Right. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if I'm looking at legacy anymore as a goal. It's more just like, just, I know I sound like I'm obsessed, but I am obsessed with helping people. So I don't know. I just think of, okay, I want to just any person I can help just to grow a little bit or to progress a little bit in their life. That's more how I operate. I think I used to think about legacy a lot, but I don't, it doesn't really phase me in the same way anymore because I'm like, okay, like I think your legacy could be helping one person um and that's wonderful, right? That creates a better world. So,
Yeah. Well, and the butterfly effect that has from what are the things that that person goes to accomplish? How do they give that back or pass it forward to someone else? And it makes their life better. It's just being an all
right.
around good person and helping someone have that sense of awareness and uh, feelings of accomplishment, whether that's acknowledging something really painful and working through
Right.
it, or, in many cases, I'm very slow to give myself a compliment because it feels like it's never good enough. And so, to take that approach and say, no, I did a good job. Then
Yeah.
I carry that with me throughout the day. And it's clear in my attitude, even at work, that I'm like, wow, I'm feeling myself today, and not in an arrogant way. And I'm really proud of what I've accomplished today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like when I go to bed at night, like I need to be good with me and I'm good with me and that feels good.
I
So,
love that. Got to be good with you at night and
yeah,
all
like
day.
good. Yeah. So
I love that. In your experience, what have you seen that it truly takes to create lasting personal transformation?
yeah, lasting transformation, it takes time, it takes money, it takes commitment, it takes someone who wants it. I know this is popular in personal development, but that hunger thing, you have to be hungry for it. If you want to, I do believe people can change, but I believe that they have to want to change. I don't think it's just handed to you. And so I know
Right.
people can change because I've seen it and I've done it. Um, but it was only because I really wanted to. I had to
Right.
have the will to do it. So people need will to do it.
Wow. Yeah. How do they get will? How do they come into their will?
Usually through pain,
Yeah.
usually because they can't, there was one pattern that I was running with in my life for a long time, one subconscious pattern. And one morning I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I don't want to be this person anymore, right? It has
Mm.
caused enough pain. It caused me enough pain. And I just was like, I don't want to be this person anymore. And it was enough motivation to do something about it. So usually suffering will, will lead people to want to heal.
Right. And the suffering that hits you gets you to a point of then having some self-awareness of, okay, I see how I'm impacting others or how this behavior or subconscious thought is impacting me and those around me, and I don't want it anymore. There has to be that kind of moment of, even when I was starting my business, I had an aha moment at my past company where I was saying to myself, why am I doing this for someone else that I don't believe in? Work that I
Right.
don't believe in, charging clients things that I don't agree with. Why am I doing this? And I have really had to pause when you're in such a pattern of habit and ritual and routine. It's really hard to break that, to be aware, to say, oh, something's not right here.
Right. Yeah, clarity is it's a beautiful gift and it can be a painful one. Right, to
Yeah.
see, well, to see yourself, right,
Yeah.
to actually have the awareness to see what you're doing. In my classes, I tell people, like, most people only operate 10% from the conscious brain. There's been like
Mhm.
different studies in science. So most people are running around on 85% to 90% programming. So you're only
Wow.
consciously choosing like 10% of your life. And I didn't want to be that statistic, right? Um, so, but that pattern I was running was programming. And one day I got conscious enough to be like, oh, I'm running a toxic pattern. I need to shift this toxic pattern.
That's deep. I'm gonna think about that for the next several hours after we finish this interview. What am
you
I
can
doing in my life?
you can look it up. There's different studies, but all of them say like somewhere between like 80 to 90%.
That's incredible.
So
I believe it.
depending on
I lived that.
you were programmed, uh,
Yeah.
it kind of
Yeah.
affects your
And
life quite a
programming
bit.
comes from experience, childhood
Yep.
things, different
Environment.
traumas,
Yeah.
environmental. Yeah. Everything you've been through.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating. Alex, if you could leave our listeners with one reminder or mantra as they step into their own empowerment journey and maybe their own clarity journey, what would it be?
I'm sorry, one mantra, is that what you said?
Yeah, reminder, mantra, advice.
That healing is truly possible. You can actually heal. I didn't know that. Everything I had tried before this deep healing work was a band-aid. I knew that I could live with certain things. I knew that I could see things differently, but I didn't know I could actually heal and move forward from something. And so whatever you want to heal in your life, it is possible. Um, so I just want people to know, because there is hope, no matter how messed up you may feel or how much you may be suffering. There is definitely hope.
That's beautiful. Well, Alex, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you on and talking about this. I could talk about this literally all day, and you have me thinking about my own awareness and clarity that I'm gonna go try to process after this call. For everyone who tuned into the mill today, thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in Alex or learning more about her business, she will be tagged on social media as well as within our email communications. Alex, thank you again. It was great to chat with you.
Thank you so much.